Hello, Father Fred here again today. We've been reading about Jacob. Sometimes he's referred to as Jacob, sometimes he's referred to as Israel. If you remember, Jacob's name was changed to Israel by God because his name is going to cover the whole Israel, the country. It's named after him now that he's got his name changed. And there's 12 tribes, and 10 of his sons are the chieftains of 10 tribes, and two grandsons are going to be the chieftains of the other. And the ones in the south, after they split, they have differences, and in the ones in the south, there are just two of them. It's called Judah, and it's called Benjamin, and that's where Jerusalem is. They're in the south. All the other 10 are in the north. And right now, we're going to be getting rid of Jacob. In one story, we're going to get rid of him, one of the writers. We're not going to have him anymore because we're changing to one of his sons. He has a son that's going to be the main character for several chapters now, and his name is Joseph. So let's look now at chapter 37 in Genesis. Chapter 37 in Genesis says, we start out, verse 1, Jacob, now it's sometime Jacob, sometime Israel. Jacob settled in the land where his father had sojourned, the land of Canaan. Now that's the promised land. That's where he's supposed to be, and that's where they're going to be living. It's supposed to be forever, but we know that doesn't happen because they get taken care of by the Babylonians and by the Assyrians and taken out of there, and their temple torn down, everything. But this is the land, that's the promised land for them. Now, this is about Jacob, and that's the last you're going to hear about Jacob from this writer. Because look at verse 2 and go to, about the seventh word that starts with when. When Joseph was 17 years old, now this is, all of a sudden Joseph pops up. He's grown. When Joseph was 17 years old, he was tending the flocks with his brothers. He was an assistant to the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. Now, if you remember, he had two women, one that he really loved, that was beautiful, and the other one was not, he didn't care for, and the one he liked was named Rachel. But he got tricked, and so he married Rachel's sister, which was Leah. And Leah had 6 children. Then, Rachel got the idea, if I can't have children with them, I'm going to give them my handmaid. So gave her Bilhah. Now Bilhah is not really a wife. It's a wife that's going to have children, all right. But he doesn't have to really take care of her. He can leave her if he wants to, but he can't leave his two that he's really married to, Leah and Rachel. But let's look now. When Joseph was 17 years old, he was tending the flocks of his brothers. He was an assistant to the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. Now they've started out as concubines. And Joseph brought the father bad news about them. So the very first sentence was, Jacob settled in this land, and now we're on Joseph, and there's got to be something to go in between, because this writer is taking the stories and putting in something to tie them together to make it like one story in this Old Testament. And what he puts in is this, in verse 2. He says, this is the story of the family of Jacob. This is called the redactor or the editor that goes from Jacob. He's in his land now, and now we're going to have Joseph. So how are we going to get there from there to here? We're going to put this in between. So verse 2 says this. This is the story of the family of Jacob. When Jacob was 17 years old, he was tending the flocks with his brothers, and he was an assistant to the sons of the father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And Joseph brought their father bad news about them. So right now he's ratting on them. He's telling his father that they're doing bad things. So they're not going to like him for 3 reasons. That's the first one. Here comes the second one. Israel, now in this one, back at that beginning, we had Jacob. Now his name is Israel. We're going to use the name Israel. And it's one writer and another writer. Same person that they're writing about, but they got different names that they use for them. Verse 3 says, Israel loved Joseph best of all of his sons, for he was the child of his old age. It was a long time before Rachel was finally able to have a child. And he had made him a long ornamental tunic. So the daddy liked him the most. Number one, they didn't like Joseph, the brothers didn't, because he brought bad news about him. Number two, his daddy preferred him to all the others. His daddy doesn't know what's going on, I don't think. But they don't like him for that. There's going to be a third reason, and it's coming up. Verse 4, when his brothers saw that their father loved him best of all his brothers, they hated him so much that they could not say a good word about him. Verse 5, now when we get to where there's somebody that has a dream, it's going to be a writer that's going to be from the north, from those northern 10 tribes. And there's going to be a dream here. Once Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. Now they're not going to like this dream either. But here's his dream. He says, there we were binding sheaves in the field. Now a sheaf is, if you're not a farmer, you might not know this, but a sheaf is the wheat or whatever the product is in bundles. A sheaf is a bundle of wheat or of corn shocks or of something. Verse 7, there we were binding sheaves in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose to the upright position and your sheaves formed a ring around my sheaf and bowed down to it. He's telling them, I had a dream, y'all are going to bow down to me. Now that's the third one. They're not going to like him. His brothers said to him, are you really going to make yourself king over us? Will you rule over us? So they hated him all the more because of his dreams and his reports. He could have kept them to himself, but that way it wouldn't tell us about something in the future when they are going to bow down to him. We have this clue about what's going to happen. Verse 9, then he had another dream, and this is not going to be any better. And he told it to his brothers. Look, I had another dream, he said. This time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. So that's supposed to be the sun and the moon. That'd be his mom and dad. And 11 stars is going to be his 11 brothers, because there's 12 tribes and 12 of them. 10 brothers. There are 10 brothers and two nephews, or children, two grandchildren, not just children. Verse 10. When he told it to his father and his brothers, his father reproved him and said, yeah, he didn't care for that. What's the meaning of this dream of yours? Can it be that I and your mother and your brothers are come to bow down before you? So his brothers were furious at him. But his father kept the matter in mind. One day, when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem, that's in the north, Israel said to Joseph, are your brothers not tending our flocks at Shechem? Come, and I will send you to them. I'm ready, Joseph answered. Go then, he replied. See if all is well with your brothers and the flocks, and bring back word. So that they sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph reached Shechem, now here's just a man just out there wandering around, I guess. When a man came up on him, he was wandering about the fields. What are you looking for? The man said. Why did he think he was looking for somebody? I'm looking for my brothers, he answered. Please tell me where they are tending the flocks. The man told him, they have moved on from here. In fact, I heard that they're gone on to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. They saw him from a distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. They've had it up to here. They said to one another, here comes the dreamer. Here we're going to the part that's going to be from the north. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns here, that we we could say that a wild beast devoured him. We will see then what comes of his dreams. But then Reuben heard this. Now Reuben is one of the 10 tribes of the north. So this writer is from the north. And he tried to save him from their hands, saying, we must not take his life. So this writer from the north is writing how they're going to save him. In a minute, we're going to see how the same story, the south is going to try and save him. And it's going to be a brother from the south. Verse 22, then Reuben said, do not shed blood. Throw him into this cistern in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him. His purpose was to save him from their hands and return to save him and restore him to his father. Verse 23, so when Joseph came up to his brothers, they stripped him of his tunic, the long ornamental tunic he had on. And then they took him and threw him into the cistern, and the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Now, if you're not on a farm, maybe, you might not know what a cistern is. A cistern is like a well, only it's not water that comes up from the ground. It just catches rainwater so that you'll have water. Because not every place can have a well. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then they sat down to eat. Pretty calm, isn't it? They threw him in there to die. Now they're going to sit down to eat. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites. Now, you remember who Ishmael was? Ishmael and Isaac were the sons of Abraham. Ishmael is the leader of the Ishmaelites. These are his descendants. They're coming up from Gilead. Their camels laden with gum, balm, and resin to take down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, now Judah is from the south. The two tribes in the south are Judah and Benjamin. So now this is going to be the way Judah tries to save him. Judah said to his brothers, what is to be gained by killing our brother and concealing his blood? Come, let us sell him to these Ishmaelites, instead of doing away with him ourselves. After all, he's our brother and our own flesh. And his brothers agreed. So this is two different stories that are put together. One brother from the north wanted to save him. One brother from the south was planning on saving him. Verse 28, here's going to come a different group. Midianite traders passed by and they pulled, now here's kind of a little bit, it's kind of tricky. Midianite traders passed by. Now, they passed by. Are they the ones that do this, or is it the brothers? Because the next line says, and they pulled Joseph up out of the cistern. Now, was it the Midianites that pulled him up, or was it the brothers? Most scholars say it's the brothers, because the brothers are going to sell him now. And they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, not to the Midianites. The Midianites are coming by, but the Ishmaelites are the ones he sold him to. So what's the Midianites doing there? It's another story. Now, if we read it according to tradition, when we read that this is what comes off of God's lips, they're going to say that the Ishmaelites and the Midianites are the same ones. Scholars say they're not the same ones. And the Ishmaelites who took him to Egypt. Verse 29, when Reuben went back to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not in it, he tore his garments. That's the way of saying he was very hurt and mad. Verse 30, and returning to his brothers, he exclaimed, the boy's gone. And where can I turn now? He doesn't know what to do. No. They took Joseph's tunic, and after slaughtering a goat, dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they sent someone to bring the long ornamental tunic to their father with this message, we found this. See whether it is your son's tunic or not. So they're tricking the father. He recognized it and exclaimed, my son's tunic, a wild beast has devoured him. Joseph has torn him to pieces. Then Jacob tore his garments and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned his son for many days. Verse 35, though his sons and daughters used to console him, he refused all consolation, saying, no, I will go down mourning with my son to Sheol. Now, Sheol is not like hell. In the New Testament, we get hell. The good ones go up, the bad ones go down. In the Old Testament, everybody goes to the same place, good or bad. Thus did the Father weep for them. Verse 36. The Midianites, meanwhile, sold Joseph into Egypt to Potiphar, an official of Pharaoh and his chief steward. Now, who is it takes him down there? In this verse, the Midianites takes Joseph to Egypt and sell him. The Midianites. Go back to verse 28. The Midianite traders passed by, and they pulled Joseph up out of the cistern, and they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites who took him to Egypt. You got two stories. Was it the Ishmaelites or was it the Midianites? It depends on who is doing the writing. And it's going to get better. We're going to see more stories that's partly from this place and partly from that place. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. And peace be with you.